Thank you for joining us here today on Hill Country Happenings News Minutes. This week we have some footage from the Back to School Bash that was held at the Magnolia Civic Center. There was a line outside the door for starting up, and then when everybody got in and got signed up, the line to the Tiki Hut never stopped. There were all kinds of happenings going on inside the Civic Center. They had face painting, they had balloon animals, and a bouncy house. And guess where the bouncy house was? On the stage. Never would have thought it, but there it was, and the kids loved it. They also had a place set up to where you could dress up and have your picture made with tutus and tiaras and top hats and mustaches and all kinds of fun things. They also had candy in the Civic Center, the Magnolia Room, where the kids could play games and receive candy or prizes. The Union County Library was also a part of the festivities in the Magnolia Civic Center. It was a great time had by all. Now, we heard from Mr. Ed about Ed's rain gauge this week, and there was no rain in the Liberty area. Now, I know there was some rain in the few places around Union County, but not for our rain gauge. Next week will be a Back to School Bash and Health Fair held at Baptist Memorial, Union County. They want everybody to come on by and have a great time. The information's on the screen. Now, we also visited at the Biscuits and Jams Farmers Market. We weren't able to interview Blue Mother Tupelo, but we did get some great music by them. Now, this was the last of the Farmers Market for this season. We will miss it, but we'll be looking forward to next year. As school started back for the New Albany school system, the kids got to go in and meet their teachers, and there was also several other schools in the area, such as North Pontotoc went back Friday, and then the county schools start up Monday, and so it's time to go back to school, kids. I hope you will have a wonderful year learning and making friends and having a good time, but learning is the most important thing. And building relationships is a great thing, too. We're looking forward to all the sports. Be sure to send your sports news to us here at Hill Country Happenings at hch@hillcountrynetwork.net. If you want to send us a video, we can also give you a way to send video. We would love to have it. We are a small team. We're not able to cover all the schools, but we will definitely report any news happenings that you send us. We do have a website at www.hillcountrynetwork.net, and we also have a news site called hcn.today. On here is our news reports that we get. We put different press releases up as we receive them. So if you want to email a press release, we would love to have it. You don't have to be a school to put in a press release. You can be a nonprofit, and we'll post it for you. Any kind of events that are coming up that you want to let the community know about it, we'll be glad to post it. Just give us an email at hch@hillcountrynetwork.net. Now, we want to take a moment and crow a little bit. As you know, we were 1 year old as of May 2018, we became Hill Country Network, and we have worked hard to show the public that we want to be the North Mississippi Community Network. We have several original programs that we would love to invite you to watch. Now, Mondays at 9 o'clock is Education Today with Dr. Charles Garrett. Dr. Garrett's guests discuss things that affect our children and educational systems. He speaks with teachers, coaches, politicians, educators of all type. He also speaks about how to develop good leaders. We invite you to watch Dr. Garrett on Education Today on Mondays at 9 a.m. with an encore showing at 5 p.m. Now, on Tuesdays at 9 a.m., we have From the Heart. The tagline of the show is, "We tell stories of life because life is interesting." This is a show that I host, and I try to go out to where the people are and meet them and let us tell us about what's going on in their lives, about interesting things that have happened to them. I talk to people from all walks of life, from preachers to politicians to a stay-at-home mom to people that have their own business. I just love meeting people and sharing their stories. Now, on Thursdays at 9 a.m., we have Let's Talk. Let's Talk is a show hosted by four ladies, Jessica Winston, Sue Morrison, Wanda Westbrook, and Martis Bolin. These ladies come from different backgrounds and also different lives, but they are a group of Christian ladies that want to spread the joy and love and knowledge that they have of everyday life with others. They're not professionals as far as giving advice and being able to counsel people, but they are ladies who have lived life and they have experiences to share. And they would love for you to write to them and suggest subjects for them to discuss and to let them know that you're out there listening, to let them know that if anything that they've said has helped. Now, that is on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. with an encore showing at 5 p.m. Now, on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. is we have Meet My Mississippi, authors and artists, and the host of that is Patricia Neely Dorsey. Miss Patricia brings in different authors and some artists that talk about what they have written or what their projects are, how they got started, where they are now, how you can find their books or their paintings. And it's so interesting, the different diverse people that she brings in. Now, that's on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. And we have an encore showing at 5 p.m. Now, on Friday nights, we have the Patton Allen Show with host Patricia Hancock and Alan Cowser. Now, Pat and Alan bring different genres to the show. They always start and stop their show with a gospel song, and then their guests either sing gospel, or they'll sing country, or they sing rock, or they sing oldies. Whatever it is, it's a great time. We have some musicians that play their own instruments, and we have some that do it by pre-recorded. And you get to see local talent, which is very important. Now, this is the Pat and Allen Show. It airs on Friday nights at 7 p.m., and they also have an encore showing at 8 p.m. And at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights, it's Count E-Flack, Movies from the Tombs, where he shows the moldy oldies. Now, the Count brings you trivia about the movies that you're going to be watching, and he also has a little comedy thrown in, but he's very interesting, and it's very fun to watch. Now, Count E-Flack is hosted by Greg Calfee. Now, Greg is from Takapola, and him and his family just do such a great job on Count E-Flack that it is just a pleasure to watch them. Now, we hope you'll watch the Count every Saturday night at 8 p.m., with an encore showing following. Now, this is just a few of the shows that we bring to Hill Country Network. We have the Hill Country Happenings, which shows at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m., Monday through Friday each week. And our news magazine, Hill Country Happenings, brings you things that have happened in our area from the week before. And it may be the week before, because we have had so much information that we have to split the times into two shows because the show is only an hour long. We try to bring you a little weather. We try to bring you some positive news. And we try to bring you some fun and happiness. We'd like to have a little segment called Happening Moments. And this is a little 1 or 2 minute little selection that has a visual with some classical music, because we like to introduce culture as we go. Now, another program that we have coming up, there are a couple that are coming up. We have a cooking show that's being developed. We are so excited about that. And then we also have the Tallahatchie Tales. The Tallahatchie Tales is hosted by Rick Robbins and myself, and we tell the old stories like the Grimm Brothers and the Brown Fairies and all the different old stories. And we now have partnered up with Mr. Andrew Massengill, who is going to be drawing some illustrations to the stories that we tell. Now, some of them you might remember is Rumpelstiltskin, Three Billy Goats Gruff, The Gingerbread Man, and we've also written some of our own. We have southernized the tales of the blind men and made it down by the Tallahatchie River. We're looking forward to sharing these stories with you. They will start airing on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock here on Hill Country Network. We'll be doing individual stories for right now. We won't be trying to make a whole show of it. So there'll be one scattered at 9 o'clock, and then we'll show it again later. Also, Miss Patricia is reading some of her poetry that we'll be sharing on Saturday mornings, which is a great fun because she read the Meet My Mississippi book, and we already had it showing. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback about it. Now, we hope you enjoy our background today, and we hope you enjoy the Hill Country Network, and thank you for watching Hill Country Happenings. Now, be sure and go and like all of our social media. We are on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You can follow us there. You can also post things to our Facebook page and let us know what's going on in your area. We cover North Mississippi. We want to hear from all of North Mississippi, from Corinth to Tupelo to Oxford to New Albany to Ripley to Blue Mountain to Walnut to Faulkner to Boonville, all over the place. We also want to hear from Batesville, Panola County, Tate County, Hernando, Olive Branch, South Haven, all of North Mississippi. So be sure and post your items on Facebook. Now, we put all of our original programs on YouTube also, so be sure and go and subscribe there so you don't miss any of our original programs. Now, we hope you'll stay tuned to the rest of the show. We'll bring you some highlights from the bash, and we'll bring you some highlights from the farmers market and some music from Blue Mother Tupelo. We're very excited to have them coming up soon on the Pat and Allen Show. We hope you have a wonderful week.
We appreciate everybody being with us today. We have got a couple of special announcements, and we'll get this program started. I'm Gary Chandler. I work in the Industrial Development Division for Three Rivers Planning and Development District. We'll get this program started by asking Mr. Phil Nanny, the Executive Director for the Union County Development Association, to come up and give an invitation. Phil?
Would you pray with me, please? Father God, we thank you for your watch care over us and for your provision for us even today. We thank you that you're shining so brightly on our community and seeing an opportunity for us to grow. Father, our prayer is that we would grow according to your will and through your way, so that our citizens, those people who work in these places, the investors who have earned their money and now are using it to make our community grow, that they would all be blessed. Father, we thank you for a beautiful day. God, here we are in July, and you've given us a cool morning together. And so your blessings keep pouring on us. Father, we thank you that you blessed us. We thank you that you love us. And my prayer today is that everyone who hears my voice will understand that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And I pray it in his name. Amen.
Phil, thank you. I will recognize our Union County Board of Supervisors. I have the pleasure of working with these guys day in and day out, along with our mayor and Board of Aldermen in New Albany. They're a very special group, and they really make our jobs a lot easier when it comes to tackling manufacturing projects, expansions with local manufacturers, and doing things like we're going to talk about today in terms of developing industrial product. And I'll start with Chad Coffey, the board chairman this year, Steve Watson, Randy Owen, Evan Ditton, and Dave Kitchens. Thank you, gentlemen. We're out sometimes in Mississippi when we're talking about losing population and brain drain and those sort of things, but this community is growing and we're proud of it. And it's because of the things the gentlemen sitting behind me are doing and the gentlemen out in this crowd are doing, and the private sector investment here. It all comes together to make a real difference and make the quality of life for those who choose to live in a community all the more better. Times are good, but the community isn't standing around with our hands in our pockets waiting on the next big thing to happen. The community is taking proactive steps to better position us to compete for manufacturing projects in the future. At this time, I'm going to call on District 3 Union County Supervisor Dave Kitchens to talk a little bit more about those proactive steps that are taking place in our community. Dave?
Good morning. How's everybody? The achievements that Union County and the city of New Albany have done over the last several years is truly remarkable. Gary, appreciate you highlighting some of those achievements for us. But we as a board of supervisors, along with our partners, we've worked hard over the last few years to get to this point. We have filled our empty buildings and put manufacturers on vacant sites. Today, most of our buildings are full. We don't have anything to offer a prospective manufacturer. And we have limited greenfield sites as well. Our success is good, but we've come to the point where we just don't have any marketable sites to show our prospective industries. So with that, we come to today's announcement. While we're proud of what we've done in the past, we're looking forward and we're always working for the future. We understand that in today's hyper-competitive economic development climate, manufacturers want more than just raw land. They don't want to locate and look at a soybean field. They want developed product.
At this time, I'd like to call on Mr. V.M. Cleveland, who will make remarks on behalf of the Enhanced Mississippi Group. V.M.?
Good morning. I have a little help here. Some of y'all know me, and I'm involved with the Tupelo Furniture Market. When they see me come to the podium, they say, well, this program's about over. So I'll try to make my remarks sort of brief. In 2017, we formed the Enhanced Mississippi LLC, which is a private, for-profit bankers corporation comprised of community-minded investors. By putting a group of investors together allows us to do more and bigger projects. Our goal was to invest in projects that will help stimulate economical development in North Mississippi and create jobs. This group allows us to use private funds and partner with government entities to get the job done. We're here today to announce this first project. This project is going to consist of a 100,000 square foot building. The building will sit on this 200,000 square foot, the yellow grass out there, which lies on a 35-acre site in this big Martintown South Industrial Park. We have the ability to expand this building to 400,000 square feet. I developed some of these things on my own. We never go in on a site to build a spec building that we don't have some growth area, because we expect success with whatever industry we put in it. Some of the key reasons we picked this site, because Randy Kelly told us to, but it is located in this Martintown Industrial Corridor, and it's 1.5 miles to Interstate 22, which that's helped. The labor force is the size of 280,000 within a 45-minute drive from here. That sounds like a lot. And this location is only 45 minutes from Memphis metro area, which has the major airports and infrastructure to handle all the needs of big corporations. As we all run into that a little bit from some of these Fortune 500 companies. Now, we appreciate the support of corporations in New Albany and Union County. We look forward to starting construction and ultimately the building being occupied by the end user. Construction is slated to start in a couple of weeks, and it won't be done in 90 days either. It'll be about 6 months.
At this time, I would like to make a call on the Honorable Tim Kent, Mayor of the City of New Albany, to make some remarks. Mayor Kent?
Well, thank you, Gary. And I too would like to thank Chris. They were the pioneer in our area. I remember when they did come, he and Tony Ritchie, this was a bean field. So, you know, they had a lot of vision then, and they haven't slowed down. So thank y'all for staying with us and believing in us. But on behalf of the City of New Albany, we are proud to partner with Union County and Enhanced Mississippi on this spec building project. Our light gas and water, or New Albany light gas and water, provides water, sewer, and natural gases here in Martintown to the industrial corridor. And the city also provides fire and police protection, but we're committed to doing that and doing it the best we can. Over the years, the New Albany Light Gas and Water has consistently found ways to increase service and capacities to our industrial paying customers, and kind of paving the way for the diverse manufacturing base in our community. I remember when I first ran for mayor, and I've been here 14 years, so I'm getting old. My son was graduating college with an electrical engineering degree, and at that point, he didn't have many options to come back home. So my goal, and I stumbled into it, it wasn't anything I did, to be honest with you, but was for people like him, if they wanted to come back home and live and work, they would have that option. And I was just very proud to see places like Blue Tech and what you're going to see behind us in a few years. But we made a commitment to have generous water supply and sewer capacities here in Martintown. Today, we have a reserve water capacity of 1 million gallons a day, and we have excess sewer capacity of 2 million gallons a day that we can, that right here where we stand. So I hope it'll be attractive to many of the potential manufacturers. It's our goal to build our community's manufacturing diversity here at Martintown, and by continuing to provide top-notch city services. We understand time is money, and when you're seeking a new location, it's kind of changed since Chris was home.
Shape today that we have ever been in. Mississippi is in the best fiscal shape today that we have ever been in. When I was elected treasurer, thanks to many of you in this room and others, in January of 2004, and I walked in the office, Mississippi had $13 million in our rainy day fund. Now friends, $13 million is a whole bunch of money if you're talking about my personal checking account. But it ain't very much money if you're talking about a $20 billion a year operation like state government is. I'm happy to tell you that in the fiscal year that just ended June 30th, Mississippi no longer has $13 million in our rainy day fund. We're going to end the fiscal year, once the lapse period occurs at the end of August, with over $500 million in our rainy day fund. We have a truly balanced budget that only spends recurring revenue for recurring expenditures. We're only appropriating 98% of our expected revenue because we want to have a cushion just in case revenues don't come in as high as we'd like for them to. Even though the fiscal year that ended June 30th, we saw revenue growth of 5.5% year over year, which led to us collecting $300 million more than we appropriated against. That's why we're in the best financial shape we've ever been in. And oh, by the way, we also, today, Mississippi has less debt on the books today than we had when I ran for Lieutenant Governor 8 years ago. That is a trend that is very unusual in America, and obviously that's a trend that's very unusual in Washington, D.C. Because in Washington, it seems like it doesn't matter if the Democrats are in charge or if the Republicans are in charge. The debt just keeps rising. In our state, that's not the case. We actually have less debt today than we had 8 years ago, and that's something I'm proud of. The second thing we must do if we're going to see long-term economic growth and prosperity is we must have a tax code that is fair, one that is flat, one that encourages economic development, not one that discourages it. That's the reason we championed the largest tax cut in Mississippi history. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a major fault line in this campaign. The other side believes that government is entitled to 100% of everything that you make. And anything they let you keep, you ought to be thankful for. We, on the other hand, believe that government doesn't have anything that it doesn't first take from somebody else. And while there are core functions of government that we must fund, we know that you know better how to spend your money than any governmental entity ever will. The third thing we must do if we're going to see long-term economic growth and prosperity in Mississippi is we must improve the educational attainment level of our citizens. And I got to tell you, this is the one area where I'm most proud of our accomplishments. over the last 8 years. We have invested more money in public education. In fact, we're going to spend over $400 million more in public ed this year than was spent the year I ran for lieutenant governor. But we don't believe that we can just invest more money and expect different results. That's the reason we've done things like pass the 3rd grade Literacy Promotion Act, because we need more of our kids reading at a 3rd grade level when they go into the 4th grade. You see, we believe that between pre-kindergarten, which we have funded at the state level for the first time in our state's history, all the way through 3rd grade, kids need to be learning to read. But once they leave the 3rd grade, they better no longer be learning to read, they better be reading to learn. 3rd grade Literacy Promotion Act has made a difference. We've invested over $55 million in hiring reading coaches over the last 4 years. It's made a difference in our state. In fact, historically, the only thing anybody wants to talk about is inputs. How much money are you putting in? I've already told you we're going to spend $400 million more, but it's not just about inputs, it's also about outcomes. How well are our kids performing? And the fact is, you may not have heard about this because not a lot of people talk about it for some unknown reason. I think it's a phenomenon that former Governor Barber used to say is, you know, the press rarely covers airplanes that land safely. But the fact of the matter is, in the realm of public education, there are a lot of airplanes that are landing safely right now. Did you know that in high school graduation rates, the year that I ran for lieutenant governor, the national high school average was 83%. Mississippi's was 74%. But last year, in large part because of the focus that we've put on this, high school graduation rates nationally have risen from 83% to 84%. But nationally from 83 to 84%. But in Mississippi, high school graduation rates have risen from 74% to 84%. My friends, we are on top of the national average, and if trends continue by next year, we will exceed the national average in high school graduation rates. And that's something we ought to all be proud of. But our success is not limited to high school graduation rates. If you look at 4th grade reading and 4th grade math, if you look at 8th grade reading and 8th grade math on the nation's report card, the NAEP test, would you, by the way, if you're on a list of 1 to 10, and you're at 10 and you want to be 1, the only way you can get from 10 to 1 is outperform whoever's at 9 and 8 and 7 and 6 on a yearly basis, and you got to do it consistently. Did you know that in 4th grade reading and 4th grade math, 8th grade reading and 8th grade math, the worst Mississippi kids performed over the last 10 years in terms of improvement is in 8th grade math. And in 8th grade math results, Mississippi kids outperformed 38 other states, and we're 12th in the nation in games in 8th grade math. But in 4th grade reading, in large part to that 3rd grade reading gate that we talked about earlier in the Literacy Promotion Act, in 4th grade reading, if you look at 10-year growth numbers, Mississippi's 4th graders have outperformed 48 other states, and we're 2nd in the nation in gains in 4th grade reading. That's going to pay long-term dividends, because those kids that are reading at 4th grade level before they go to the 4th grade, the likelihood that they're not going to be able to do their math and their science and their social studies work when they're in the 5th and the 6th and 7th grade is relatively low, and therefore the likelihood they're going to become a statistic, a dropout, when they're in the 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th grade is relatively low. They're not going to become a dropout. They're going to stay in school and they're going to graduate. And as it relates to that, I will tell you, I think in America there was a bad decision made some 30 years ago, and it's true in Mississippi as well. It's not unique to Mississippi, but it is true. And that is we took career and technical education out of our high schools. We took VOTEC, it seems, out of our high schools. We need to put it back in.
And home ec.
And home ec.
Yes.
We need to put it back in and give kids an opportunity, an alternate career path perhaps. Because the reality is everybody doesn't need to go to college. And we need to destigmatize those who choose not to. Because I can tell you, I was down in Jackson County last Friday night, and there are a whole bunch of welders at Ingalls making a lot more than some of the college graduates I know. We need our kids to learn more skills. My family, as Coach Stroud knows, is in the heating and air conditioning business. It's hard to find an HVAC person to work on your air conditioning. It's hard for us to hire. It's hard to find plumbers. It's hard to find welders, yet they can make a very good living. And if we're going to see long-term economic success in Mississippi, we got to have more of them, and we got to work to train them. That's the reason that just last week at Belden, Mississippi, at ICC, I announced a $100 million initiative to increase the amount of workforce training and workforce development that is done at our community colleges, to upgrade their facilities so that we can identify the types of jobs that are needed for the next 50 years, not the types of jobs that we've had for the last 50 years, but the types of jobs that are needed for the next 50 years so that we can train and retrain our workforce to fill those jobs. If I could only look at one economic statistic, it would be per capita income. And we've got to do everything we can to improve our per capita income in our state. Now I'll tell you, I'm proud of the fact Mississippi's economy is roaring. Mississippi's economy is booming. We actually collected 5.5% more in revenue year over year. That's the best growth rate we've had since the mid-1990s. That's impressive. Mississippi's got the lowest unemployment rate than at any time in our state's history. Mississippi has more people working today than at any time in our state's history. In fact, we have 88,000 more people working today than were working just 8 years ago. We are headed in the right direction, but we have to have a commitment to workforce training and workforce development if we're going to reach our full potential. Now, I want to thank all of y'all for coming out today, and I'm going to make just a little bit of a pivot from the policy side of things, the initiatives that we have enacted and the initiatives that we have proposed and will enact if I'm fortunate enough to get elected governor before I came in. I also will tell you that I'm proud that in this race I have the support of the nation's oldest conservative grassroots organization in America, in the American Conservative Union. I have the support of the nation's largest grassroots conservative organization in the National Rifle Association because of my support for our Second Amendment. I have the support of the state's most leading advocate for those of us who support the sanctity of life, as the Mississippi Right to Life has endorsed my campaign. I'm also fortunate enough to have the support of Governor Bright and so many other conservative leaders across this state. And we're going to do all the things that we're supposed to do to tell as many people as we can about all those things as to why I ought to get elected. But the thing that Haley Barber taught me 16 years ago that I've never forgotten is while all of those things are important, and events like today are important, but the most powerful tool in politics is for you to talk to someone who respects you and say, I'm for Tate Reeves for governor, and I hope you will be too. That'll go a lot further along than anything I say, or anything Ely says on TV, or anything anybody else says. If you will talk to your friends and neighbors, if you'll talk to the people you go to church with, if you'll talk to the people you go to Sunday school with, and tell them, I'm for Tate Reeves for governor, I hope you will be too, then we are going to be successful next Tuesday night. Tuesday is a big day in our state. We've got an opportunity to do big things and take our state to even higher heights. We've got an opportunity to show that we know that Mississippi's values are Mississippi's strength. Ely and I were blessed to grow up in small towns in Mississippi. Me and Florence, her in Tylertown and then Macomb. We were fortunate enough to go to Mississippi public high schools. We graduated and went to Mississippi colleges. Mississippi colleges, not to be confused with Mississippi College, just to be clear. We graduated and we got Mississippi jobs. I'm running for governor because I want my little girls, 14, 12, and 7 now, and your kids and your grandkids to have that same opportunity. We have to measure our economic success, not in all those statistics that I'm so proud of. We need to measure our economic success in miles, by how far do you have to drive to see your kids and your grandkids. The only way we're going to keep them close is by having the jobs of the future here in Mississippi. I'm committed to making that happen, and I'd be honored to have your vote, and I'd be honored to have your support, and I'd be honored to have your prayers over the next 7 days as we work hard all the way through Election Day. Thank y'all.
Hey, this is Nick with Millennial Outreach, and we're at the McDonald's location in Pontotoc, Mississippi. We're doing back to school free haircuts. I would like to thank all of you guys for supporting Millennial Outreach. Thank you.
it, that's right. We're gonna pull through this fight. Love in the moonlight, and we're gonna start tonight while we're getting this good. While we're getting this good. While we're getting this good, we're gonna do what we should. 'Cause we know we could if we only would. We're gonna make things right. We're gonna make things right. Now our child's eyes are bright. 'Cause Mama and Daddy finally made things right. No more stormy weather, no. Now there's only sunshine. Only sunshine. Only sunshine. A little one whispering as we walk down the aisle. It's been a long while. There's so many miles, and the time is right. Yeah, the time is right. Day and night. Now our child's eyes are bright. 'Cause Mama and Daddy finally made things right. No more stormy weather, y'all. Now there's only sunshine. Only sunshine. Only sunshine. Sunshine, well, sunshine, sunshine, Lead me down river, lead me down river. Lead me down river, the forks of the river. Lead me down river, on the banks of the Frisco River now. Won't you lead me, Mama? Lead me down river. Gonna have us a big time in the Tennessee sunshine. I brought a couple cane poles so we can drop the fishing line. Come and meet me down river, baby. Lord, we'll have us a big time. I'll fire up a jumbo and we'll take it for float. In that cold mountain water, baby, Lord, we'll keep it rolling forward. And if you wanna get hip, we can go stand up. Lord, we'll start down and be around. Well, now we'll float the country mile. And if we get hungry, let me tell you, honey, we can jump up off the boat and grab a mountain turkey hole. Well, now lead me down river, lead me down river. Lead me down river, at the forks of the river. Woo! Lead me down river, the banks of the Frisco. Let's go, go, go. Mercy. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. This is my wife, Michael, and my name's Ricky, and we call ourselves Blue Mother Tupelo. We're also known as the Davises. Further on, down the road, you'll accompany me, babe. Yeah, further on, down the road, you'll accompany me, baby. When I look back, your love was like the sun. Don't remember no cold days, I just remember the one. Day by day, only step back in time. Woman, your love has been so kind to me so far. Easy so on this heart of mine. Down low, the things get said. Let's cheer up each other. Smile, cause things ain't that bad. Happy fool, I would rather be, baby. Cause I can learn from you, darling. Don't you know you can learn from me too? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.